One of the things that like I said, if you really are interested, I know he would be great on the board. We're gonna start the summer for interviewing commissioners, and then from there, it's wherever you want to go. Whoa.
You got my line to have that?
Yes, sir.
Jeff Top get hold of you today? Jeff Top?
No, he didn't. What,
Okay.
is he gonna
Well,
talk about
I'm
something?
gonna plant a little seed in the little pea brand up there. We're putting on, you know we got the centennial coming up.
Right.
And on January 8th is our kickoff event.
Okay.
It's gonna be a day-long affair.
Okay.
And we have entertainment, all kinds of vendors, and all kinds of stuff.
Cool.
We're looking for an MC.
Oh, that's why he's gonna call me.
And your name came up.
Imagine that. January 8th would be a great day. What's a Saturday?
Your name came up.
I'll put it in.
And he said he would talk to you. We came up with 3 names, and you were on the top of the list. So.
He probably identified me as Everett first, and then
I guess it's Joe. He's in the car.
No. This is gonna be like a most Everett.
Oh, and
Okay. Our initial presenter, unfortunately, is just called in sick, so I'm going to fill in here. Believe it or not, folks, where are we? The last session, session number 8, if you want to count the State of the City. 8 sessions ago, back in January, we all were bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and we're ready to learn everything we wanted to know about the city. What have you learned? You know where the bathrooms are, and the council chambers. Yes, so we are at the swan song of the 2021 CLI. I want to make sure to put in your head May the 18th. That is the date we are scheduled to do graduation. It'll be a dual graduation, as I mentioned before, since we didn't get to do one for the class that ended at the end of 2020. What's that? You don't get hats, you get certificates and shirts. Don't forget the shirts. Everybody, give me your shirt size. I think I have everybody's shirt size. What's yours? 2XL tall. Medium? Yeah. Okay. I can see Matt in mediums. Jeff, what was your favorite part of the class?
Getting to know everybody and working together on the project. I mean,
Can you tell everybody, for those of you who are unaware, young Jeff here received a very nice accommodation today from the Rotary Club of the Superstition Mountains. And Jeff, can you tell us a little bit about that?
So the project that we did, the fund drive that we announced at this particular venue, actually was pretty awesome because I think afterwards 4 people from the class came up and wanted to come to Rotary and be guests. And also I met Caitlin through this group too, and we could not have done the project without all the help from the crew. But yeah, no, we just completed it. We loaded up over a ton of donated items. I don't have the specific numbers in front of me, but it was like 1,100 pounds of clothes, 1,200 pounds of household items and books and things. And, you know, it's funny because they didn't pay us a heck of a whole lot of money. I thought we were going to get more than that, but Savers gave us $355.20. So wasn't huge, but, and I think my analogy was the juice wasn't worth the squeeze on this one because it was a heck of a lot of work. You know, like if I was going to hire Hard Knocks to do this, it'd be like, hey guys, come. I had to spend a lot more than that probably just to get the truck, take the time off. Plus we sat out in front for 6 hours, you know, for the community drop-off day. So it was a lot of work for what we accomplished. But I think the more important part is, well, after having Rotary, finding out about what Rotary was doing, I know Terrell and Sarah had put in applications for membership. So I'm very excited that you guys are going to be part of the Rotary Club. And, you know, and then of course Jeff told me he came as a guest and was interested possibly. So we have some good people coming that didn't otherwise know about it. And Mary Lee also said, you know, she's thinking about becoming a member. So we got some new people that are going to be serving the community with Rotary, doing our different projects. And that to me is more important than really anything that dollar-wise. You know, we need people and ideas and just the heart of service. And I think that's what I got that was the best part of this particular class. So just being able to call people friends and get to know everybody and work in the community serving side by side was pretty awesome. So, you know, that was awesome.
Not a bad little plug for CLI, huh? That is a wonderful, wonderful story to be able to tell because it is about the relationships. It is about the connections that you make. We're still a small enough community that we can do things like that. We're going to grow. That's inevitable. There's no way around that. How we grow is really the crux of the matter. One of the things that we have been trying to preach a little to folks as we go through this process of expanding the city is keeping our identity, putting our stamp on the region, and growing intelligently. That is probably more important than anything else that you can imagine. I don't want feedback. So, congratulations to Mr. Jeff. We thank you for imparting that story, and like I said, you have already made a mark in the community. You guys are all going to go on and do a lot more things. I'm sure I will work for some of you at some point, because that's the way things usually happen around here. So for our last night for CLI, we hit a couple of key areas of the city, excuse me, including the city attorney, who will be here in a few moments, and the city clerk, which of course is one of the few sort of mandated areas of any municipality. So we will hear from Madam Clerk Jennifer Pena, as well as the city attorney, the assistant city attorney. And then the guru of communications in this city, marketing communications specialist for 20 years, Matthew McNulty, who helps run everything in this room and does so many things I can't even start to tell you. He will also talk to you a little bit more about our department. And so that is all happening in a little bit. Now, we had our initial presenter, Scott Bordeaux, my counterpart at the Apache Junction Unified School District, he was going to tell you that although things are in transition at the school district, they do have an interim superintendent. Her name is Heather Wallace. She's been with the district for some time in various capacities, but she is going to be probably in place for a little while they go looking for a new superintendent. But one of the things that he had been working on, despite changes in the administration of the school district, is a new website. So if you look up on the screen there, ajusd.org is the new website for the Apache Junction Unified School District. Now, you should be aware, of course, that it's not the only school in the city. There are 3 charter schools. Is that right, Pam? Is there more than 3? Yours, Imagine, Avalon, Apache Trail, that's 4. There's probably another one. There are a couple of alternative high schools and a couple of alternative, what we would think of as grade school or K through 8. K through 8 at Arches, correct? And the same at Avalon. But obviously the public school district is the largest. It has more students than everybody else. But I will also tell you its student population is dwindling. It has decreased over the last several years steadily. But this is good to know that you, if you were wondering about school stuff, the Apache Junction Unified School District does have a high school, a junior high, and 3 elementary schools in its district. The district goes from Gold Canyon all the way down here to the city and all the way to Meridian. It will go all the way out to the annexed area. Part of the school district's plan is to continue to expand south. That is part of the school district. It's already set that way. So if they decide if they wanted to pursue a school building, another elementary or something down in the annexed area, that will be their decision to be made very, very soon. Obviously, things are moving pretty quickly as far as development goes. Excuse me. Along those lines, the fire district, Superstition Fire and Medical District, also has annexed the area that we're talking about. Their boundary, so to speak, had gone down to the city limits at Elliott Road. It will now go down farther south, so they will handle calls in the area that gets developed over the next few years. Whether they build another substation of some sort also is in their plan, and they have, as we continue this theme of new leadership, their fire chief is going to retire at the end of May. They just announced their new fire chief will start next month. He has been the deputy fire chief in the city of Scottsdale. So he will come over and take over Superstition Fire and Medical, I believe in May is when he takes over, maybe June 1st, something like that. So a few moving parts there. That would normally be a component in the CLI class, would be a representative from the school district, a representative from the fire district. And so at least you are understanding that they are part of the community, separate from the city, but obviously part of the community. In other cities, the school district does fall under the city. That's not the case, of course, here in Apache Junction. And like other cities that have fire departments, Apache Junction, again, does not. The fire department is a separate entity. if you pay property taxes in the city of Apache Junction or within the fire district, you do pay towards the fire district, just like you pay towards schools, the community college district, the sewer district, and the fire district. Did I get anything wrong there, Mr. Stern?
I didn't take notes, but I better.
Yeah, you better start taking notes now. That's probably very true. Okay, so it's time. Are you going to go first or Mr. Eric? All right. Really? Here we go. Everybody ready?
Yes.
That's the way it goes. Well, this gentleman who is going to start our night now is an undergraduate of the original land-grant university of the state of Arizona. Go ahead. You can. Yeah, I know. But got his law degree from Whittier College? Whittier University. It's Whittier College. Law school. Spent a few years in Mojave County in the county attorney's office there. Went to Riverside, California as the assistant city attorney there. What was Riverside like? Smoggy, that's what I thought. Is he right, Z? Not a pretty place to be, Southern California. But since the, as opposed to the rest of it, but for the last 23, almost 24 years, he has been the city attorney for the city of Apache Junction. So he's going to tell you all about the city attorney's office and what they handle and how they handle it, and then he'll hand it off to the assistant city attorney, the city prosecutor, who will also tell you a little bit more about the city, the part of the department that he handles, and he's been in that role for 8 years himself. So we'll start with the city attorney, Mr. Joel Stern.
Okay. So you're leashing me to this, correct? I mean, I can't walk around, right? That's all right. I'll do it here. This is like federal district court. You have to stay in one place. And if you don't, the judge will come after you. It's amazing. Okay. Once again, my name is Joel Stern. Been with the city almost 24 years. My staff is Eric Yuva, city prosecutor, assistant city attorney. We have 4 legal assistants, and we have a vacancy right now, so that's the makeup of my office. My office is right next door. So I have an open door policy. You all could come and talk to me about anything you want. Now, whether I give you legal advice, that's different. I can't do that because I have a contract with the city. Just ask a council member, and she'll be angry if I give any legal advice. However, I could probably direct you to the appropriate city, county, state department, whatever it is. And I have always done that, and that is my policy. However, if you sued the city and we're in an active lawsuit, I cannot talk to you. That's one of my rules, and that is a very good rule. It's also under the ethics rule. You really can't talk to someone who's represented, especially if you have an attorney. Hopefully none of you will ever sue the city. That would be good if you don't, so please don't. So what we have is a little packet for you. I'm not going to go through every single word and phrase, but you will see that I've listed the general city attorney topics that I cover, and it's pretty broad. Without going through all of these, I can just tell you I advise the mayor and city council. I come to all the meetings. I'm kind of proud of this next thing that I'm going to tell you. I've been here almost 1997, so I've never missed a council meeting out of all that time. So Then somebody will say, well, yeah, but how effective are you? I've heard that before. Someone did that once at one of these meetings. It's like, okay, that was a good comment. But I have been late to maybe one or two, but I've always gone to the council meetings. And I do go to planning and zoning meetings. The council wants me to do that. Also, we have a new board called the Art Commission. You've probably heard about it, and you're here. So that's a good one. That's very unique personalities on that board, I'd have to say. It's a great board, and I'm glad we have an Art Commission finally, because city talked about it back in 2000, 2001, and they never just had the ability to do it, and they finally created it. In any other commissions, boards I go to, if I'm asked by the staff person. And I give legal advice. If you take a look at the colored papers in the back, these are the areas of law that if you become a board and commission member, you're going to get sick of me because I will go through these in detail. So it's conflicts of interest, council, board, and commission's code of conduct. I'm going to go back to that one. Open meeting law, parliamentary procedure, public records law. So some people might say, God, that stuff's really boring. How do you do this? Well, some of this stuff is actually very fascinating, especially some of the conflicts of interest that come up. You would be amazed at what some city and town council members get into and staff over the state and over the country. It's insane, actually. Open meeting law, what's that? Well, when a council meets, they're in an open meeting, there are certain rules. They have to have agendas, they have to have notices of the meetings, they have to specifically say what's on the agenda, and sometimes they don't do that in different cities and towns. So you'll see an agenda saying, council meeting, budget, dogs, cats, and that's the kind of detail that I have seen in the past. The AG's office is definitely cracking down and has over the last 15 years, especially with different administrations and different political parties. So that doesn't happen as much. In fact, the Attorney General's office created a, what they call the omnibus, I forget what they used to call it, but it was basically their watchdogs, and they make sure that your notices and your agendas are perfect. And if they're not, they will definitely let you know. And then she has to get involved. She's the city clerk, and she will get blamed. I'll blame her. Just kidding. No, I won't blame you because I help her with the agendas. But that's how it would work. And they say, why didn't your agenda include the following detail? Okay, I talked conflicts, parliamentary procedure. We're not in England, are we? So why are you talking about parliament? Some people think that's what they see that word and they think about England. Well, it actually goes back to England, but Robert's rules, and this is in the first paragraph of the green sheet. He was actually a military man, and he was told, hey, you're going to handle this church meeting today. And he went, and it was chaos. There was no structure. He said, I'm never going to go through that again. I'm going to create some rules. And he did. And this goes back to the 1880s, 1870s. Well, we're on the 11th or 12th edition now. I mean, that's the kind of history that this man made. And it's really good stuff on how meetings are supposed to occur. There's a chairperson, there's members that can't interrupt each other. People are supposed to have the floor. There's a way to do motions. Very important stuff to keep it going. Okay, public records law. When you become a commission member, board member, or even council, because when you go to CLI, when the council selects the board and commission members, one of their questions usually is, hey, have you ever graduated from the CLI? That's important to a lot of council members. So when you become one, and I am not uncertain that you will become a member of a board or commission or council member. I know there's some double negatives in there, but anytime you write down, say you're one of these people, and you're writing down notes on an item, guess what? That's a public record, and you're supposed to keep that. You're supposed to give it to the staff person so they can hold on to it for a number of years, a retention schedule. And that's what you're supposed to do, because issues could come up that you're conspiring with other council members. Someone might bring that up because they didn't get their way when you voted. And the AG's office will then say, okay, what's going on? Let me see the notes. Let me see the notes right now. And it's not just handwritten notes. It's also your personal devices. Are you typing away to the next councilor and saying, hey, I know there's 2 votes on this. The 2 council members to my left are voting. All I need is yours, and then we'll get this through. That's illegal. That's more of an open meeting law issue, but the actual document or the electronic record, that's under public records law. And those are supposed to be kept also if it's in the city business. If it's your personal device, an AG opinion just came out that said, well, it's an honor system. So if you're using your personal device to use city business, this goes for commission members and board members too, not just council. You're supposed to retain those. So when a public record request comes in to her, she sends it to me, says, what do we do with this? And then I have to say, okay, you need to collect all this information. And so you will get a contact call from either manager or the city clerk saying, okay, turn over your electronic devices. We need to look at them. And these could be your personal ones. So you got to be careful if you're using your personal device to do city business. Okay, this is the fun one. How much time do I have?
You have plenty of time, according to Madam Clerk over there.
Okay,
Oh, you got another half hour, you're good.
well, I could go on for hours if you want. Hour? How late do you want to be here? 11? 12? Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, you've heard this dog and pony show before, haven't you? Many times. Council, boards, and commissions code of conduct. This is a fun one. I did not write this. Well, actually, I did. You should have seen my 12-page document before council decided we don't want all that. And that's fine. So I wrote it the way council wanted it, and this is the product that it ended up after 4 or 5 council sessions. So it went through, and it was the last council that did, or it was done in 2018, I believe. It was finished. So we had a different council then, so there were different priorities, and I don't know if council members want to change this. I could think of some changes, but I haven't been asked. However, there's some good stuff in here, and I'd urge you to look at this and read it. And there's some common sense stuff in here, really common sense, that sometimes some people don't have the common sense, and that's why it's there in black and white. Okay. Any questions? Al said this is an inquisitive group. What happened? How come you're not asking any questions? I know. You read it already? Wow, okay. The question is interviews for council. What do you? Oh, I'm sorry. What I was saying was when the board and commission vacancies come up, which will be in October, before that, the council will send out a bunch of questions, and you can apply online to be a board and commission member. So at one point, you're going to be scheduled for an interview right before the term ends. It's October 31st for most commission members and council and board and commission. So you'll come up here, you'll speak to them, and they're going to ask you that question. Hey, and I think it's actually in the written questionnaire too. Is that correct? Do you know? Yes. Okay. Hey, have you ever? Well, I'm sorry. On the application. So. On the online application, have you graduated from CLI? So, does that answer your question?
It does. And further, it opens up in October of this year. When does that online application open
I believe that starts in late summer, or actually, is it August? Mid-August. And then there's a certain amount of time that you have to apply. And then at one point, the city clerk gets all that information to the council. And so they have plenty of time to look at it. Yes?
So, I actually have my iPad here, I'm taking notes, right? So, would I be allowed to like print them out and use them as a record, or do you need the actual device for the recording?
You mean if it was a personal device? Well, technically, if a public record request is made, you can print them out, and that's what the clerk would prefer, or you could send them electronically.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, the reason I'm asking is there's obviously a time you can modify on the computer, but once you get it on print, it's a little harder to change type of thing.
I get it, yeah. Yes, sir.
Is it ever proper for a council member, after a public hearing has been, has taken place and the public has had a chance to speak, is it proper for a council member to interject their opinion or tip their hand as to how they're going to vote?
Before the vote.
Before the vote.
It's not really, there's nothing in this code that says they can not do that. But how's it going to look? And that's the question you got to ask yourself if you're a council member. Okay, we just went through a hearing. We went through a work session, or we went through one public hearing. We're going to have another one in 2 weeks on, I don't know, requirement that you leash your cat. How about something like that? Some cities do that, by the way. And, I heard the testimony, and I think, here's how I'm going to vote. I think you can do it, but the whole point of a public meeting is do it in the public. You can do it in that public meeting, saying, I've just heard everything, but I just don't like that idea, and I'm probably not going to be in favor of this as it is currently written, ordinance number, whatever. And now there's Facebook too. There's electronic media. That can't be, it can't really be controlled, but council members might do that. And if they do that, they do it. But traditionally, it's not illegal. But how does it look to the public? And maybe to the Facebook world, it's wonderful because, transparency, that's how people look at it. But that's not the public meeting. Remember, Facebook is not the public meeting. It's what happens in here, and it's what happens at a noticed public hearing. That's the public hearing. You had a question. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Yes, sir.
What's the rule about having council members on various committees or something going on in town? They're not connected to the city, they're independent, but you happen to have 3 or 4 council members are members of that group. Is there any rule about how many can be on there before it starts becoming an open meeting law violation?
There was a rule called the quorum rule. So if you see 4 council members or 5, so more than a quorum or more, and so there's 7 up here, so a quorum is a majority, so that's 4 or more. Say they're at a restaurant, and you're a member of the public, you say, what's going on? Are they having a little council meeting? What's going on? Are they talking about items? Does that happen? I haven't seen it recently, but it certainly did happen when I first started. We had, for planning and zoning, for example, I remember after planning and zoning meetings, this is before you were here, so you're not guilty. The case would end, and so I want to go eat because I'm a pig, and so I go to the Village Inn. It used to be open. I'd go in there, and I'd see 6 P&Z members already there. They beat me to it. And, what are they talking about? Probably the case that happened. Right. Or maybe a case that's coming up because it got continued. How's that look? Doesn't look good, so it's not a good idea to do it. But you still have First Amendment rights. You may associate with whomever you like. You shouldn't talk about the items on the agenda or any city business, really, if you have a quorum. Someone might be sitting in the booth next to you, and they might be recording it. Anybody else?
I do have a
Yes, sir.
We gotta do the mic.
I am a little special, just a little bit. One of my questions I had was involving that you advise the staff on certain things. Business licensing kind of caught my eye. Can you explain that a little bit more of what you do in the sense of your responsibilities and it being in the business licensing?
Well, the city clerk is here to talk about the general rule on city business license, because that's part of her duties under the city code. But if I get a question from her staff, I will say, okay, let's go look at the code. Let's see what it says. Can you have a business license for certain things? And what does the schedule say? So we go through that. We'll say, okay, and it's a $50 business license. Well, they're late. They're late 3 days. Well, they have to pay the fee. That's the kind of stuff I would talk to them about. Yes, in the back.
Good to go?
Oh, you had another one?
Yeah, it's kind of the same question the other guy just asked about the open meeting thing. About, let's say, if 4 council members are on social media talking with each other about something, what if it was something unrelated to council business? Like maybe they were getting into like a heated debate over like a national political issue or something like that.
There's nothing illegal about that, and it happens all the time. So, but you can do it. But, you know, as a council member, even a board commission member, you gotta always think, how is that going to look? And is that going to be detrimental? Does it make the city look bad? Because people know who you are, probably. No, wait, you're not on the agenda.
I want to just expound a little bit on that, Jeff. We're a small enough community that a lot of times there's events happening in our community that 4 or more council members will be at that event. Is that a quorum? Not necessarily, okay, just because there's 4 city council members there. What we do try to do, I know I can speak personally for myself and most of the other people, is that if we do go to an event, I'm trying to think, like right here at this CLI class that I'm in, what if 3 other council members wanted to be here? What we try to do is just not get together as a group, okay? We're allowed to socialize, as Joel said, we're still citizens, you know, we can still go to events. But the best thing to do is just stay away from each other, don't have more than 2 people or something, yeah, 6 feet. You know, it's just not get together and not be discussing like a little group, okay? We can all socialize at the same location, just don't do it together.
So are you ready for some crime? Oh, there's a question. There are more questions.
All right,
They
since
are. Thank you.
I'm probably the one to wrap it up for you, what word of advice would you leave us for tonight?
First of all, thank you for coming. Thank you for being interested in your community. This is a good show. I mean, this is more than I've seen in the last few years. More participation. And this will lead you to other things. If you want to become a board and commission member, graduate. Oh, is this the last night, by the way? Oh, then you've all graduated. You can leave now, actually. You were here. But with that, I would urge you to get interested in board and commission membership. It's fascinating, and you will see the city from a different side. When you're sitting back there, it's different than sitting out there. And you go, really? We can't do that? We can't do that? And you say, well, we can do that, especially for things that are said in executive session, because we have those sometimes. So that's executive session is a process where there's only certain things that can be talked about behind closed doors. And I know a lot of people want to, some Facebook people want to say, oh, I want to see transparency on everything. Well, sometimes you can't do that because it might hurt the city. Like if we're bidding on a piece of property, and now if it's all out here, then whoever's going to accept the price saying, well, we have other bidders, and now we know your price, so tough, you're not going to get the property. And same with us, if we're offering property away, we want to know what the bids are going to be in private, so that we get the highest price for the residents. But I think get involved if you want to, and I think you're here, that shows you want to, and I applaud all of you for that. So are you ready for some crime? All right. So I present Eric Yuba. He is the city prosecutor.
No, you're fine.
You have to be 18. On some commission and boards, you have to be a city resident. Others, you don't. Or you have to have a specialty, like for the Construction Board of Appeals, you have to have a engineer licensure or architecture. So, but the age is adult, 18. Sure.
Thanks, Joel. Well, as Joel stated, my name is Eric Yuva. I am the Assistant City Attorney / City Prosecutor for the city. I handle all the misdemeanor criminal offenses that occur in the city. I'm the only prosecutor, so I get to handle all of them. Before I came to Apache Junction, well, I graduated from Chandler High School in 1997. That's when Joel first got here. So I was learning how to shave when Joel started working here. And then I went to University of Notre Dame for undergraduate. That's right. And then I graduated from Arizona State Law School. And part of my background is while at ASU Law School, I got certified in mediation, so I can mediate disputes between parties in civil court, things like that. And then I got a job with the Maricopa County Attorney's Office. I was there for 8 years. I did everything from fraud, crimes, gang crimes, drug crimes, domestic violence, those types of things. And then I came here and I got to do the domestic violence crimes in the city of Apache Junction, and DUIs, driving offenses, a lot of animal offenses occur in this city. So I handle all that stuff, so, and I enjoy it. I've been here 8 years now, so. I prosecute animal owners and people who abuse animals, so. But like I said, I handle all that. We have one court, one judge, one courtroom, and we meet on Tuesdays and Wednesdays usually. Tuesday is usually the day where people come in to handle their cases themselves. They're called pro per defendants when they come in on their own. Wednesday is when we generally get the public defenders and the private attorneys. Yep. The Supreme Court order, because of COVID, they really limit who can go in there now. Even family members of defendants a lot of times cannot go in. I think that's still in effect. We're still enforcing that. So in the past, it was open, you could come in, but there's also a stream online that you can view. If you call the court, they can probably direct you to how to access that, and you can watch court from your home. You don't even have to come in. So. So I meet with defendants in the courthouse, and I go over their cases. I review all the charges that come in. Cases can be charged in two different ways. The one that most people understand and are familiar with is citations. Like, you get pulled over by an officer, he writes you a citation, you sign it, you're not admitting guilt, but you're promising to come to court. And so those are citations. Usually traffic offenses are that way, driving unsuspended. Sometimes cases like assault and disorderly conduct can be cited that way, and you sign a date and you promise to come to court, and you know right then and there that you're being charged. The other way that you can be charged with a crime is an officer or officers can go out to a scene, say a domestic violence scene between a man and a woman, and they investigate it, and they take all the pictures and they write the reports, and then what they do is they send it to me. It's called a long form submittal. And what I do is I review their reports, I review the pictures if they have any, body cam footage, and then I get to make the charging decision. I can decide what I want to charge, if I want to charge it at all. So those are the two main ways that people can come to court. A lot of people, they show up and they say, I was never cited, and I tell them, you don't have to be cited. You were long form submitted and I made the decision on your case. So don't get mad at the officer, I'm the one who made the decision. So those are the two main ways that people come to court. When they come to our court, our court since 2017 has been mostly paperless. And what I mean by that is we have been using a digital way to transfer the cases. So for example, when I come to court, I don't carry a bunch of files. I have a laptop that I use. And every single plea, every single motion, every single police report is on that laptop. So what I do in my office is I sit down with them and I open up the computer there, and there's a monitor that they can see. So I can pull up the police report. I can show them the statement that they wrote out that they'd never remember writing out. I can show them pictures of how drunk they were on the night that they got pulled over. I can even pop the video in and show how they were acting that night, and they get to see that right there if they want to. And then I talk about their options, and then I have all the plea agreements on my laptop, and if they want to accept that, I don't print out a paper plea. I flip the laptop around and they sign on the screen, and then I email that plea agreement to court. So there's no paper, and we've been doing that since 2017. And with COVID happening, it turned out to be kind of a blessing because we weren't passing paper between attorneys and the court staff and the judges. It was all digital, so that worked out great. It ended up being a really good thing to have in place already. Other courts are trying to catch up and do that, and we've been doing that since 2017. So, like I said, most of our cases are domestic cases or traffic offenses. We do get a lot of animal cases in AJ. We have a couple of very dedicated animal control officers that send me a lot of cases. A lot of our trials have been animal cases. Unfortunately, we have a good amount of people in town that don't treat their animals the way they should. We've had cases where a man was caught on video grabbing his Great Dane by the legs and slamming it down on the ground, and a neighbor got video of that, and he didn't feel like he did anything wrong. I can treat my animal any way I want to, and unfortunately that's some of the attitude that we run into sometimes. I had another case where two girls that were living in a house just let in every cat and every dog from the neighborhood that they could find, and they left their house in complete neglect with 12, 15 dogs and cats in their house, and neighbors complained about the smell, and officers went in and saw all the destruction of this house that they were borrowing from one of their relatives. And we had a case a few weeks ago. It was a woman that had 67 cats in her backyard. So we do have a lot of these types of cases, and they're cases that I, as an animal owner myself, I care about very deeply, and I think animals should all be treated with respect and dignity, and so I take those cases very personally when we get those. I also take the domestic cases very, very personally. We have programs in our court where a person can get anger management. Say I've never seen them before, and in AJ we get a lot of kind of yelling and screaming cases. We have a lot of residences that are very close together, and so a lot of times if a husband and wife are yelling and screaming at each other, it's a neighbor that's calling the police. So if I've never seen the two parties before and there was no assault or anything like that, we will sometimes direct them to what's called a diversion program, which means if you do this anger management class together and you take that class and you successfully complete it, then we'll dismiss your case. And that's in cases where I've never seen them before, there was no assault, it was mostly like a yelling and screaming type of case. We also have alcohol programs and drug screening programs that we put offenders in that work through the court, and those are mostly very successful, and sometimes we don't get a lot of repeat offenders. Sometimes the people will make a mistake and get a DUI, and they go through the alcohol program that the court prescribes for them, and they never come back. So I think we do a good job of holding defendants accountable. I think too often in our country now, in my opinion, I feel like criminals are being let go and getting slaps on the wrist for nearly everything, even more serious things than misdemeanors are. But I think our court and other courts in the state of Arizona do a really good job of holding people accountable, and that's what I try to do as the prosecutor. You have any questions at all for me? Sure.
So I noticed that in this
Hold it. You know, that Z was online, she was one of yours.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My apologies, but not for beating the Diamondbacks tonight. So I just, I just read the prosecution status summary. It looks like all the fines and restitution. I'm just curious to see where those fines and all the money that's collected when you're doing those type of cases, where do they actually go? Like tickets
I
and all
take the money and I build a pool in my backyard.
I knew you did that. I saw that tan that you have there.
You'd be surprised. Defendants say, you just want my money, and I tell them, it's not like I'm taking your money and going to spend it. Like, that's not why I'm giving you a fine. But no, a lot of those fines, the court does have a program where people can work off their fines through community service here for the city. They'll do various things like wash police cars, clean up city property. They'll even go out to houses in the community where there's maybe residents that can't clean their own property for whatever reason. They're injured or possibly an elderly woman or man. And so a lot of defendants can pay off their fines that way. So just because it says $333,000, it doesn't mean the city's getting that much. A lot of times it's worked off. A lot of times the fines aren't paid. If people don't pay their fines, their cases, they can be revoked from probation and they can serve jail time if they don't pay their fines. In other cases, if they just have a fine and they're not on probation, if they don't pay their fine, what happens is their case gets closed out and it gets converted to what's called a restitution lien. So if they win the lottery from the state will recoup it that way. Or if they try to register a car, they might have trouble because they have that lien in their name. But most of that fine, most of the money that the court brings in, it goes back to the city, and the court doesn't operate at a profit. There was an article a few years ago from the Goldwater Institute that basically implied that all these city courts are making money, and they're not. Anybody who's ever worked in a city court knows that we don't nearly take in enough fines to pay for the staff and the buildings and everything. So, no, absolutely not. So.
Next.
Prior to coming to Apache Junction, did you ever have to deal with any of the corruption and whatnot with the University of Arizona sports teams?
Actually, my dream job would be to prosecute former basketball coach Sean Miller from the University of Arizona. He should be in jail as far as I'm concerned. It's funny how his assistant got arrested and got federally charged, but it's funny how the head coaches, they get all the credit for when they win games and everything. They're so great, but when something goes wrong, it's like, I had no idea that was going on. It's always mesmerizes me how that happens. But
Mr. Stern, remind me to make a time to meet with you very soon to look at future council candidates, so we can make sure that they're all of clean records.
Some of the kind of the funner cases I did at the county attorney's office, I prosecuted people for Katrina fraud. I don't know if you remember back when Hurricane Katrina happened, it displaced a lot of people, some to Arizona. There were people that were claiming they were from New Orleans and they were Phoenix residents, and they got thousands of dollars in assistance, and I got to prosecute a lot of those people, so that was fun. I got to nail those people. Yeah, I enjoy being a prosecutor. I think it's kind of a different type of position than any other attorney. I don't have clients. I represent the state. So when I go into court, I represent not just the police officer, the victim, I represent the judge, I represent the defense attorney and the defendant. And if I feel like everybody in the process is not being ethically treated, I have an ethical obligation to intervene. And so we're different than a defense attorney. A defense attorney is there for one person only, and that's their client. They could care less if I'm doing my job right. But as a prosecutor, I have to make sure the judge is doing their job right, and the defense attorney is representing the client right, and everybody's being treated fairly in the system. And I take that, position very seriously.
So I have a question. When are you going to start covering planning and zoning commissions?
I'm really busy with what I do. As interesting as Joel's first 20 minutes was, I really enjoy my stuff a lot more. So I'm going to stick to what I do. But yeah.
So you're bringing up some history of your schooling, and you brought up mediation.
Right.
I have my degree in peer mediation. I think mediation is huge in life in general. How has it helped you in your career?
Well, I think just the way I, especially being a prosecutor in a small town like AJ, one week the person in front of you will be the defendant, the next week they might be the victim. And what you need to learn very quickly is you have to treat everyone, no matter what their role is, with absolute respect and dignity, because that person can come back in 2 weeks and be on a different side. So when you're a mediator, like I did small claims mediations, like for example, 2 ASU roommates and one of them spilled her Coke on someone's laptop, and they want $800 for their laptop, and they're fighting. The one's refusing to pay the other one, and so you had to learn how to kind of talk and let each side be heard and their concerns be heard, and then try to let them talk to each other and those types of things. That part doesn't happen a lot in criminal court, but it's taught me where I'm talking. I have the same basic demeanor when I'm talking to a police officer or a defense attorney or a defendant or a victim. It's easy if you just treat everybody with respect all the time. And in my opinion, there's a lot of prosecutors that have this very adversarial process where they're super nice to the officer and then they're jerks to the defense attorneys. And I don't really agree with that. You be respectful to everybody. That's how you end up having prosecutors at Maricopa County who get in trouble for overcharging something or treating defendants, on a basis of racial bias or something like that, some of what you may have heard in the news from Maricopa County. I saw that stuff firsthand when I worked there. And it was, in my opinion, it was incredibly disrespectful for prosecutors to act that way. So my position has always been, I always pretend I'm being recorded. When a defendant comes into my office, a lot of times they'll put their phone up and try to start recording me, and I'll just say, let's go into court then, and we'll just do it on the record so that the court records it. I don't want you to record it. So I always act like when I'm with them that everything I'm saying is going to come out, and that's just how I've always conducted myself. Doesn't matter who I'm talking to, which side. So.
My question is pure curiosity. I work in IT, and your paperless process sounded fascinating. Would you share what platform you use?
We just use Google Drive.
Okay.
So what we do is all the pleas are Microsoft Word, all the documents are Microsoft Word, which I'm not that technical, but I can do Microsoft Word. And so we get them to sign it. We save the plea as a PDF so it can't be adjusted. PDFs can be adjusted, but it's a lot harder to do that. I then save the plea into the Google Drive on Google that the court has set up, and they can see what I put in, and they can take it out. And so then they take it out and they can present it in open court. And that's how our police reports, every week I send police reports electronically instead of emails, because the size of these things can get big. I put them into the Google Drive that all the public defenders have access to. So that's what we use. It's not real complicated. I actually think it's very easy, but yeah, it's worked out for about 4 or 5 years now, so we like it.
How often do you change the passwords?
I don't think we've changed it in 5 years, to be honest with you.
There's one.
It's not real. It's not. None of it's that. None of it's protected. None of it's too interesting.
Okay, more questions? None of you are going to end up before that guy, are you? That's what I wanted to hear.
I checked the list. I asked him, can I see your list?
Just to make sure.
So.
Eric Yuva, Joel Stern from the City Attorney's Office. Thank you. You can go home. You can go home now. Exactly. Are you kidding me? That's the only chance. That's the only chance. I don't get a chance to do that at all. Okay, we're going to power through if you want to keep going. Because Madam Clerk over here, she's got a lot of stuff to do, and she's got to move on as well. But she wants to tell you all about, like I said, one of the mandated areas of many municipalities, depending on where you are and how it is organized, and that, of course, is the clerk's office. Well, Jennifer Pena, who is our city clerk, comes from a wealth of experience. She was in the city clerk's office of the city of Chandler. She was deputy city clerk for the city of Litchfield Park on the far west side. She had worked in the city of Peoria prior to that. She's participated in a number of elections. She is very well versed in a number of the very key areas of a city clerk's office. And she was put in a very, I will tell you, a very difficult position, because we hired her as deputy city clerk 2 years ago when our city clerk was unfortunately in failing health. And just a few months after Jennifer started, the city clerk had to go, home on administrative leave because of her health, and Jennifer took over, and eventually we named her after the former city clerk retired. We had the opportunity to hire Jennifer as city clerk full-time. So she's been city clerk since 2 years? Just a year? Wow, see, there you go. It seems like it's been longer, but what do I know? And a native of the Northwest, correct? But has called Arizona home for quite some time, so she knows this area as well as anybody. Ladies and gentlemen, the city clerk of the city of Apache Junction, Jennifer Pena.
Welcome, graduates. Congratulations. I'm going to use the keyboard.
It's a big file, that's fine.
How do I change this to?
Slideshow up on top. From beginning.
There we go. All right. So I had a little fun with this. As I watched presenters present to you over the last 4 months, a lot of them do the slides. I did this my first year when I came here, and I had fun with it. But then I learned that this was going to be televised, and so I had to change some of the music, because Apache Junction is a western town, and I had music from Bonanza and from the bad, the ugly, and the good, the bad, the ugly. Oh yeah, oh no, I had some great music. Found a Danish orchestra that actually did that music, but couldn't play that either, so we'll have a little fun tonight. Again, my name is Jennifer Pena, and I came to Apache Junction basically in January of 2019. Like Al said, I had about 18 years in the city clerk's world prior to that. And you're gonna laugh, but my college was clinical dietitian. And after working in that field for a year and going through, at the time when AIDS was very broad scale, watching patients die, decided it wasn't for me. I get too emotionally attached to everybody and just couldn't handle it, didn't enjoy it. High school, totally avoided government because I thought they were all crooks and they lied to you. Wasn't good at playing the political game, but here I am, 20 years later. So the city clerk's office is one of the offices that is required by state law the police chief, and I believe your treasurer, your treasurer. So those are the offices required by state law. Can you hear me okay? Yes. Okay. I'm going to turn this up just a bit. So I changed all the music. So let's get started with the city clerk's office. The city clerk is actually the liaison, basically, between the community, and I say community because we do have some county islands in the area where we have residents, and their city council, their government. The clerk also is the legislative compliance officer for federal, state, and local laws, and we're also the official filing officer and official elections officer for the municipality. We have a lot of statutory requirements, so compliance with maintaining municipal clerk records, preservation and accessibility to those public records for the public, providing notice that Joel mentioned earlier of municipal proceedings, and then also recording of those proceedings. So between your city council and your boards and commissions, they all are required to have an agenda. They are all required to explain a little bit more in detail what they're going to be discussing. And then there is a liaison for every board and commission that is to take minutes. Once those are approved, they then send them to the city clerk's office where we keep them permanently. So we do have permanent records, ordinances, resolutions, and city council agenda packets, and all the minutes from the boards and commissions, articles of incorporation when the city did, a lot of the bonding documents that the city does, a lot. Of course, we oversee municipal elections. We do actually have Maricopa County and Pinal County residents voting in our election. We have a very small amount over in Maricopa, and so we partner both with Maricopa and Pinal to assist us with our elections. We oversee the administration of boards and commissions, and this year we are hoping to open up the application process for those boards and commissions sooner. So keep an eye out for those. I also work with Al in making those announcements, and then we also work with council in having them spread the word as well. Administration of the business licensing and sales tax audit program. So this is what's interesting about this clerk's office, as every clerk's office is different. In this office, there are 2 tax auditors, and then we have a business license coordinator. And in 2018, the state took over collection of all city sales taxes. There used to be self-collecting cities and those that had the state do it for them. Those that were self-collecting usually were better able to receive the funds that were due to them. With the state taking it over, our 2 tax auditors worked with the Department of Revenue in making sure that we are collecting the sales tax that is owed to the city, because it comes back to our citizens in the way of streets, curb and gutter, lighting, a little bit of flood control, things like that. They also are there to help our business owners who are first-time business owners, how to open up a business. So we work with development services and economic development in outreach programs. Also zoning. So when I say we work with development services, your business may not be properly zoned for where you want to have it. Recently we had a case come in. The gal wanted to do a tattoo parlor because it was next to something else, and she thought she could do it, and the person told her that owned the land and building said that yes, it was allowed. So she signed a lease and then came in to get her license, and we send zoning information when new licenses come in, and they're like, they're not zoned for that. So we did have to let them know, zoning let them know that they're not zoned for it, and economic development then would be the next partner that could help them find a location suitable for their business. If you, we have a field audit and a desk audit. If you get a field audit, one of our auditors asks you for certain records, and usually it occurs because the state sends us information that says these people haven't paid in 1 or 2 years or 3 years. Or if we notice that somebody hasn't filed for a while, we reach out to them and say, how can we help you? So you can come in, bring your records in, and we'll tell you, well, you've been reporting tax on this, and this is actually a non-taxable item. So what you can do is file for an amendment, and there are statutory laws that say you can only go back so many years. So we help you in that aspect as well, what you're going to be taxed on, what you should not be taxing on, and how you do your reporting. So we do a lot of outreach to our local businesses to help them succeed.
Do you guys do a class, or is it more one-on-one? Because I know there's a lot of individuals out there looking to create a business, but just don't know how.
Correct. We do not do classes. If I am not mistaken, did the chamber hold a recent event? It was women in business on how to start a business. They just did something similar, but we do not. However, the Department of Revenue has a bunch of video series on the web, so you can sit at your own home and work out how you do your business. Articles of incorporation are filed through, just lost it. I just lost it. And we've just filed ours. Corporation Commission, excuse me. So, but the tax auditors are there to help you. So if you do want to start a business, come in and start with us. Then you will get to work with development services if you need to find a storefront, or if you're going to be a home-based business, if that's allowed in your area. So we try to work a lot with partnering our other departments to help businesses succeed. What else? Records management and retention compliance. So while the city clerk is the official records person of the city, each department has a liaison for records management. My next goal is to actually implement an electronic document management system where there will be a public portal and then the internal portal. So this would allow the general public to search any public record that interests them. The only part of that would be basically an area that you check that says this is a confidential document, and those would be the only things that you couldn't see. So Development Services also just launched a program as well for I believe their plats and maps and whatnot. So, and the next would also be then a retention, work with the other departments that do their records retention and get a citywide record retention program going with them as well. But this records management, the EDMS as I shortly call it, would involve every department in the city. So PD can keep their records on it, HR can keep their records on it. The thing is, it just becomes confidential and we never see it. But it's one way of assisting the general public or those that are across state to view records if they're looking for something. The clerk's office. We actually touch a lot of different departments and a lot of different people. We work with the city council. We oversee the elections. We have, of course, the sales tax. We have business licensing. We also handle liquor licenses, bingo licenses, and I used to handle off-track wagering, and then boards and commissions. So if we were to break this down a little bit more into the city council, we work with the city manager's office in creating what this city calls a records packet. I'm used to it calling the agenda packet. Basically, that's all the documentation that the council will need to have a discussion on their next set of business for the next meeting. They get all the documentation in the agenda packet. We do those all electronic. You can access all the board and commission agenda packets and the city council packets through Legistar, which is online. Everything is attached in them, so you're kind of seeing the exact same thing that council is seeing. The meetings, so the city clerk's office, we basically deal with the city council meetings. There are liaisons for every board and commission in the city. We talked a little bit about quorum notices with the city attorney. So staff in the city manager's office, since they have more communication with council, we've worked it out that if they hear that there's going to be council attending Christmas in the Park, the Christmas parade, or tree lighting festival, or anything that deals like down at the school, if there's AJ Idol, and you've got all the council going. Basically, they've had the open meeting law training that basically says if you are together, there's 4 of you or more, please spread out and you're not allowed to talk city business. So you can get board and commission members doing the same thing, or there's a joint meeting, say with Maricopa Association of Governments or with CAG, which is Central Arizona. Oh, wait, yeah. So if you have boards and commission members and council attending, they let me know, and basically I post a quorum notice that says, at this date, at this time, at this location, there may be a quorum of, and I will list board and commission, not the members themselves, but members of P&Z, city council, board of adjustment, things like that, because sometimes they do attend training together. One of those is the league's annual conference in the fall, where all the mayors and city council members from across the state get together for a conference that's about a week long. So we do post those quorum notices. If I miss one, I am not in trouble because they are not required under statute. But if I do know, I do try to give notice to the public. The city clerk's office, when I first started here, when you called City Hall, you basically just got a recording, which drives me nuts because I hate calling somewhere and getting a recording. I really want to talk to a live person. So the city manager's office inquired if we would be the main receiver of all incoming calls for the city that hit a general number. And I'm like, yes, we'll do that. So when you call City Hall and you call the main number, you'll get the clerk's office. From there, we will help you to whatever department you need to go. We also get a lot of questions that deal with where can I dump my RV? Or where's the closest DMV? How can I get emissions? We get a lot of calls that don't deal with city business at all. So we have a resource called Community Information and Referral Services. And if we don't help you, we send you to Tess down at the chamber because they get those calls as well. She's very familiar with that. Ordinances. So the city code is basically the law for the city. The city council have adopted several ordinances that deal, so we have city code and zoning code. So they're in 2 different code books. Basically it is how the city is to conduct business and what is allowed and what is not allowed. We codify those about every quarter, but there is an online version, so that is the most current version both for city code and zoning code. Joel and I are the only 2 probably that have an actual physical book, and we keep those because if the system goes down, at least I can look something up. And he's a walking encyclopedia on state law. He can tell you what chapter and which section. Just ask him. He'll say, oh, that's Title 38. That's 403. So, and financial disclosures. So you heard him talk about if you're going to run for council, or if you do boards and commissions. But if you're running for council, the city clerk's office does a whole candidate binder, and so you will file your paperwork with us. There's financial disclosures and quarterly campaign reports that are due. Elections. I love elections. A lot of clerks, we like them, but we just fear them. Or, it's like, oh, election time. Because there's a lot to do with elections. There's a lot that can go wrong. There's always something that usually does. Your best job is to prepare for everything and then just hope for the best. So with elections, the city clerk's office, we help with voter registration. So does the across the street at Superior Court. Voter registration forms, you have a federal form and you have the local form. If you actually fill out a federal form, you are not proving citizenship and you don't get to vote in local election matters. So if we just did the general plan, and then council, of course. So if you wanted to vote for a council member, but you did not fill out the state of Arizona's voter election form, registration form, you didn't get to vote because you didn't have the proper voter registration. Municipal elections, of course, we oversee those. We work very closely with our counties to make sure I have probably it's a 15-page document of every date of when something is due, when to reach out to my candidates, when to remind them to file their campaign stuff, when we have to do publications. My goal is if anything was to happen to me, by a bus going home, my deputy can step in and there is basically day to day to day to help her walk through the process. That's always been, I think, my position. When I first got here, I had everybody do an SOP, Standard Operating Procedures Manual. My thing was, if you don't show up for the next 3 months, can somebody open up a binder and do your job? So they all created those. Candidate packets. The clerk's office will prepare a candidate packet. Basically, it's any new election laws that this legislative session passes. We do those later after legislation sign and dies, and then usually candidates like to come pick them up and start collecting signatures around the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays because there's larger groups gathering at that time. So we will have those ready this fall for 2022 elections, because we have a fall, August, and then a November, we have primary and general. If a candidate wins at the primary and we don't have any candidates that need a runoff, then our primary is the election and we are done. So, and that usually falls the first part of August. Legislative session moved that up last year. If there is an initiative, a referendum, or a recall, those are all filed with the clerk's office. If you want to file something about the city to initiate a law or a bill, then there is a certain formula that I use to calculate how many signatures you need. Referendum, if it's a city issue as well, you file it with the clerk's office. There is a packet that we have in our office for each of these that walks you through the process, how many signatures you need, when it has to be filed, and how it's filed. If you want to file something with the state or against the state or the county, it's not received in my office. What else? Any questions so far? I know, yes, ma'am.
I know for events you have your special license, and you have to do you have to do TPTs every month after that, or is that TPT only for that one-time event for that special? Because I've heard that goes kind of both ways. You can do the license, but then every month to the end of the year you still have to file your TPTs. Can you just clarify which one is correct?
So as a vendor or as a business? So
Vendor.
as a vendor, sure. So there is a difference. There's community events and there are civic events. Civic events are held by the city. Community events, the treasure box or treasure chest. She has vendors come out in the parking lot. So there, if you're a food truck, there is no ifs, ands, or buts. You are required to get a city business license, and you should have the TPT is actually issued by the state. So that's your transaction privilege tax license. So as a vendor, you should have a TPT. If you are conducting business in the state of Arizona, you should have a TPT. Every city is a little bit different. Apache Junction calls it a business license. Chandler calls it business registration. And it is, if you're going to conduct business within the city, then the cities require you to also get a city business license so that they can monitor that tax coming to the city. If you're a vendor, you have a couple of options. You can buy a business license for a year and attend as many events as you wish, or if I'm not mistaken, it's $15 per event that you do. So if you just want to come out once and try it, you're like, I don't want to come out here, it's too far of a drive for me, $15 for that as a vendor. But if you are a food truck of any sort, you are required to get a $50 business license. So I know that one of the businesses does charge, so say I'm a vendor, she would charge me to participate in her event.
Yeah.
Then she's supposed to be collecting that $15 fee, which comes back to the city if you're doing it one time, or she's supposed to say, you can pay me $15, which I have to pay the city, or you can go to the city and get a business license for $50 and you're unlimited in events.
What happens if they're just handing out a flyer at this event and not selling anything?
Then, no, only if you're actually conducting business. Right, for the sale of something that's a taxable item. Yeah, no flyers, handing out business cards, no,
Yeah, informational is not a vendor.
no. And Al is really good at answering those questions as well. He's our main point of contact for civic events.
Yeah, I got a question. What about, let's say someone's maybe doing a business as an independent contractor, like let's say, let me think of a scenario. Let's say a business holds an event and then maybe they have contractors working at that event doing whatever kind of business they're doing and they're being paid as the contractor to do the event.
I'm kind of lost, Jeff. Can you explain a little farther? I mean,
I don't know if Joel would be better for that then, but like let's say maybe a restaurant had a business license and let's say they hired a vendor to do like an event, like maybe they had like a concert at that restaurant and they were paying the person doing the concert as a contractor, like would they need a license through the city?
yes, it depends. So like if one of the restaurants was having an event on their property, it's always nice for us to know because there's an ingress and egress issue for public safety, for fire. So we do ask them that if they're going to have an event to at least notify the city. If they have vendors, the vendor needs to register with the city. So it depends on the type of business as well. Bands, usually not, because they're being paid to perform, which is a service.
But they're not making any money off of that from the public. They're just getting paid by the business. Yeah.
Right, the business. So again, I am not a tax auditor. It's definitely a good question for my tax auditors because when you talk about we call it the Wayfair bill, which is our outside sellers, out-of-state sellers, their legislation was such that the state can require them to get a license, and even if they sell in the city, we cannot require them to get a business license unless they meet, and they keep changing it every year. I think they're down to $200,000 of sales.
In a calendar year.
Yeah, there's a formula. So the attorney and I, we rarely answer questions when it comes to money or formulas because we always want to make sure that we have the correct formula and that we check because they keep changing what that dollar amount is for our out-of-state businesses. It used to be like 200,000, then it was 175. They're either at 150 or 100,000. There's a matrix determining whether they actually have a matrix within the city, things like that.
But the bottom line there is, if someone is transacting business in the city, then the city wants to see some of that sales tax because again, remember that's the biggest
Right.
chunk of revenue for the city.
If they're conducting a taxable business,
Right.
product, service.
Whether it's a storefront or it's a home-based business or a vendor situation in a special event. So there's a little bit of nebulous stuff. And remember, we want that kind of business because that brings in tourists, that brings in people from outside the city, and they're also going to stop at Circle K, and they're going to stop at Fry's, and they're going to stop at the Handlebars. So remember, there's a lot of moving parts to all of that, in addition to what the state law requires us to do.
If a business owner had errors on, let's say the TPT or just the business LLC itself, is your office able to kind of help out or guide that business owner so everything's fixed and legit?
On the reporting of the taxes, yes. Yes. Our two gals, they'll either have you in your office, but if you bring a bunch of files, then we have a conference room, we close the door, and we lay out all your files, and they help you go through what's taxable, what's not, what should have been reported, what should not have been reported, and then how you file for an amendment on those.
By appointments or walk-ins?
Yes, by appointment.
By appointments or walk-ins?
Definitely appointment. That way they get a feel for what you're trying to do and for how long it would be. Yeah.
Okay, you want to keep going?
All righty. Okay. So we touched a bit on records management. Basically, it's all customer service so that when we do get public records, we can access those and provide those to the general public. We do maintain a variety of records for our clerk's office. We cannot maintain every department's records, so they, like I said, they each have their own department where they keep their own records. We do fulfill the public records requests. I am of the mind, like many other city clerks, is that if I have it electronically, I'm going to send it to you electronically. It has been a long-standing practice of this city to charge for public records. If I cannot get it to you electronically because of redaction purposes or whatnot. So the attorney and I have different opinions of that, but if I am asked for a public record, my objective is to fulfill that as quickly as possible. If I have it electronically, I can send it electronically. Claims, the city clerk's office is the receiver of claims. However, if there is a subpoena and someone is suing and they list independent parties, those parties have to be served. I cannot claim it for the officer that you are suing or trying to serve. We are in charge of the city code. The zoning department is in charge of their zoning code. So anything that's a city code related item, city clerk's office handles, we get it codified and uploaded to the web. Anything that's a zoning code, they deal with it, and they do the same thing I do, and we have the same company do the codification of our code. Every department is responsible for its city website. I think we have been going through a revamp since I got here. At least on my pages, I keep updating them, changing them, but we have recently updated the platform and totally are redoing our website. There's a lot of things I think that could be added, a lot of areas that would help the public and they don't have to come in and they don't have to call, or that we can walk them through. Boards and commissions is a prime example. We have an individual who's not very computer literate, wanted to fill out the application and couldn't, and my staff has been directed that we are customer service oriented. If that means that you sit on that phone and you fill out the application online for them, clarify everything with them, submit it for them. There's nothing wrong with that. There's something else that I was on a phone with a gentleman. He was driving in his motorhome looking for a place to dump his tank. And so I pulled up the GIS map and asked him where he was. And he kept driving around so quickly, I said, could you just please pull over? I said, because you just passed one. So the city, I will say, all of the city employees that I have worked with so far, extremely, extremely customer service oriented. They take their time. And that is the city manager's directive as well, is take the time, help somebody out, give them directions, take that extra moment. So I really enjoy it out here. Notary services. As you know, many of the banks are no longer doing notary services. Most of your city clerk's offices do notary services. We still do them. We are seeing a significant increase on mortgage paperwork, wills, deeds, testaments, and things like that. We still do them at no charge. Was that your question? We still do them at no charge. We'll see how long that lasts, though, because there are times when my staff is occupied for an entire hour with witnesses and the paperwork that they have to do. So, and if I charge for one, I got to charge for all. So it's definitely a cost analysis as to how much am I losing in staff time and the job that they're supposed to be doing versus a customer service issue. So.
You want me to quit telling people to go to you?
Nope, keep them coming.
I do it on Facebook all day.
Nope. Yep, no, we're good with it. There's also city notaries over in HR. So if we get tied up, yeah. But my staff is now scheduling appointments when they are asked, do you do notary services? It's like, well, what do you have? And do you need witnesses? Some clerks' offices will not allow their staff to be witnesses. Basically, a witness is just saying that they saw the individual's ID and that they saw them sign the document. So I allow staff to be witness. I've witnessed. So no problems there. Sales tax and business licensing. Like I said, we do taxpayer education. The state, when they send us a notice, that's usually when my girls will start doing, my ladies, doing audits. A light audit is called a desk review, and it's just, send me your records, let's take a look here. And then the heavier ones are when the state says, hey, they haven't reported for 2 years and they owe $100,000. Figure out what's yours. The state is undermanned, and they don't have the equipment that is required for them to receive all the sales tax across the state. So a lot of cities still have tax auditors. When COVID hit, we had to get permission from the business owner that said, hey, you know, we've kind of looked at your books. You've missed reporting for the last 8 months. Based on history, this is where we think you are. But in order for me to audit you, I have to get your permission, and I'll let the state know. So when COVID hit, because they left the office, the Department of Revenue staff left the office and started working from home, they couldn't take records home with them. So they were shuffling in and out of the office. So their ability to perform the audits decreased significantly. And therefore, we had to get permission. And most everyone was like, yeah, because I don't want the fines and fees. Could you please, you know, rush me through? So that was an interesting thing for COVID. Like I said, starting with the business, we try to work with our other departments. If you need help with economic development, finding out where to locate a business, what funds are available to help you start a business, grants, things like that. Part of our thing is consumer protection as well. You know, we try to tell people, don't sign that lease until you come see zoning to see if what you want to do is allowed in the area that you're looking at. We also deal with contractors, peddlers, nonprofits, mobile food vendors, community and the civic events, which I mentioned. So the nonprofits, one of the commissions that is mine is Health and Human Services, and that is a commission that basically has an allocation annually to divvy up and assist our nonprofits so that they can help the community. Say that again? Our meeting was Monday night, and the commission had $80,000 to divvy up between 5 applicants, and we worked through it right here. So you can watch it online, watch them how they go through it and why they chose the dollar amounts that they did. Again, open to the public. So all your council meetings, with the exception of executive session, and all the board and commission meetings, since they are a municipal meeting, they are all open to the public. All of them. What do we have? Oh, liquor and bingo licenses. And I used to do off-track wagering. The city of Peoria used to have a couple of bars that you could gamble at when the dog races and the horse races. So every city handles the licensing of those different. Liquor licenses, there's a bunch of different series of licenses, whether you want to be a bar, whether you want to be a restaurant, a convenience store selling certain things. So they're all dependent on a series number, and how that's processed is done through city council. And then the council doesn't approve it or deny it. They make a recommendation to the state liquor board. But usually the liquor board follows the lead from the city council. Yes. The dispensaries? No. So with our medical marijuana dispensaries, when they first started, and we have one grower, they had first choice at being a recreational use dispensary as well. And so they applied for the license for recreational, and they received them. So we don't have control over that. Did you have a question in the back? Same question? Okay. I will say that the sales tax that we do get from those is significant. So you know, I like collecting the money because it fills the potholes and we get curb and gutter, and, you know, we get improvements and assistance for our community, which I like. But again, you know, you don't want to be the person paying all that sales tax. But what was it? The city of Colorado, I knew their clerk out there. They had a sales tax rate of somewhere in the 9% rate. And the news article about a month ago said they finally dropped it to like 2.4 because nobody would shop there, not with that kind of a sales tax rate. So bingo licenses as well, they come to the city council. There are fees for the type of series that you have. The state determines those fees. The city has a nominal renewal fee on your business license that we attach a liquor license. So depending on the series, it's usually 10% of whatever the liquor board charged you. Temporary and permanent extension of premises, those used to be, well, the temporary extension of premises, everything came to council. And never really kind of understood why, because there's a lot of things that the clerk can do administratively. So when COVID hit, it was a perfect time to say, hey, can we do temporary extensions, special events, and carnivals and festivals? Can we just process those administratively? And council granted us that approval. However, if you're going to do a permanent extension, you're dealing with zoning, you're dealing with fire hazards, you're dealing with public safety issues, so those still come to council. We send a notice out to the department saying fire, PD, zoning, and planning, this is what's going on. They all go out and do an inspection. They're looking to see if you've done any reconstruction of the building, movements of above your stove. You have the vent hood, if you've moved that. Have you added electrical? Have you moved water? So they're checking all of that. They're checking for emergency service access. Do you have ADA compliance? Do you have enough emergency? And is your emergency exits lit? So when we get a review back from all of them, they make a recommendation, and depending on those recommendations, we'll either move it to council or I will contact the state board and say, hey, can I have more time because this entity has some issues that might cause their application to be recommended for denial, which means then they set a hearing at the board down at the state to hear the case. Prefer not to do that, prefer to work with our businesses, get the issues resolved, and then move forward with a smoother process. And Al and the city clerk's office and Park and Rec, we work with them on a lot of the civic events. We really don't do anything with community events, but it's all civic events. Boards and commissions, like I said, we'll hopefully have those applications out soon. Your question was, what would be the one thing that you'd recommend after walking away from tonight? And that is involvement in your community. Like Joel said, standing on this side of government, it's a very different ball picture. The whole financing aspect for a local government is very different than a business side. We have a whole bunch of compliance issues, certain grant requirements. It is a very, very different ball game altogether. So board and commission members do a lot for the community, and sometimes I don't know if they realize how much they do, but they impact the city services you get. They also may not realize the quality of life that one decision brings on the residents. Sustainable growth for the community, and also in the justice process. There is, I keep wanting to design review, it's a board of adjustment for the city. I'm so used to design review board, a board of adjustment, so still making the transition of what we have and what we don't have. The board of adjustment is a legal process in which case if the planning and zoning makes a recommendation not to approve whatever it is that you want to do, you have the option of going before the Board of Adjustment for an appeal. So that board has a justice component affixed to it. So serving as a board or commissioner, there's a lot to do. Like Joel mentioned also, in 2019, they formed the, or 2020, the Public Art Commission, which was a huge deal out here. So again, that impacts so many things. And all of that direction on where the board and commission should be headed basically comes from city council, and that way the city manager then focuses the board and commission members' goal, where their goals should be at. Any questions? Yes, sir.
How big is your department? I didn't realize how much you guys do.
Really, there's only, there's a total of 6 of us, but 2 of them are focused strictly on tax audit stuff, sales tax stuff, Department of Revenue. Just 6. So you take away the 2, and then I've got a deputy city clerk and an office support specialist, and my business license coordinator does business licensing. So in reality, in a clerk's office, If I didn't have those 3, I'm down to 3. So the 3 of us cover all of that because my other 3 are busy doing specific duties. Yes, sir.
So my question kind of falls back on his question. So in reality, you only have 6 staff. How many do you really need? Like, are we talking like 10, 12? If it was a perfect world for you, how many
I'd like
staff
an
members?
assistant.
You would like an
Other than
assistant?
that, because my deputy does so many other things that I push towards her. I would love an assistant to help me, but, well, Al can attest, my first year here, I was here 7 days a week till 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. There was a lot to clean up. There still is some, but I'm actually not coming in on weekends now, so. But you know what? We run really slim here in AJ, and we can take pride in it, but it also puts, you know, like, okay, I'll be working on that this weekend. To me, that's a norm. So 4 in the office would probably be great, but we manage with just the 3. And my business license coordinator does notaries as well. So she's part of the front office, but she strictly answers mostly her business license calls, processes business licenses, does the renewal of the licenses, and notary services. Do I get more help? No. No. But I've got it down to a pretty good science, and the League of Cities and Towns, so the clerks, the Arizona municipal clerks, we work with the league very closely, and so we take the Secretary of State's election stuff, and the league tailors it down for municipal stuff. And then that way we're not having to say, well, you know, sorry, but that's state and that's county, so we have our own election manual. I think 2019 was the first year I put it all digital. A lot of things in this office were paper. I'm trying to get away from paper. So I think that this was the first election cycle for me here in AJ, and the entire candidate packet was online. So you could print it, or you can come in and pick up a binder. I'm used to going through the binder with candidates. That's never been done here in this city. So I'm open for either. The attorney says be careful, but. Yes, yeah, I'm used to having the county print up the ballots, mail the ballots out. That was with Maricopa County. Right before I got here, I think the city clerk dealt with all the voter reg books. So Pinal's a little bit behind. I get out here and I'm like, well, where's all your machinery? I went down to see how big their office was. And it was this tiny little building. And I'm like, well, where's all the machinery for ballot on demand? Oh, we don't do ballot on demand. So I'm like, oh, okay. It was definitely a new learning curve, going backwards a little bit. I'm like, okay, well, here's the binder online. If you have questions, call me. And my thing is, and I tell my deputy this, the clerk's office, we hold your hand. Sorry to say. Council, I will hold your hand. We'll walk through this together. We'll get from step A to B to C to D. I'm not leaving you out there to hang. My job is to make you look good and inform you the best that I can. And so I kind of call it hand-holding. Lord knows I would want my hand held.
I want to go back to what Jennifer was talking about, the staff and her staffing level, and you've been hearing about boards and commissions, but I don't know if you've talked in anything, because I was not here a couple classes, about volunteers with the city. I want to explain to you how important it is for volunteers. Every year, and you might help me here, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of, tens of thousands of hours that this city relies on volunteers, and they know the dollar amount. It's like, I don't know what, $1.5 million, $2 million that the taxpayers are saved in this city by volunteers. And I'm just going to use myself as an example. For many years, I was I worked in as a volunteer with the police department doing victim services. And one time I went out on a call with one of the detectives, And to make a long story short, him and I were just chit-chatting, and he started talking about the detectives, and they didn't have any administrative help at all, okay? And I'm thinking, as a taxpayer, here's these guys, whatever they get paid, and they're doing their own typing and things, okay? And it's like, that's kind of a waste of money for the taxpayers. So I went to the chief and I said, you know, can I help out? This is the situation. And so I started working there, and I worked there 18 years with the police department, worked with the detectives, and the last 10 years I've worked with one of the detectives where I put together these cases because I have experience in the legal field. And it's just surprising how much we could do. So when you're considering boards and commissions, also give some real serious thought to volunteering. Whatever department, you know, sometimes the specific departments are looking for volunteers, but a lot of times, maybe you want to work at the library or something like that. They always need people to reshelve books and all kinds of things. So believe me, there's all kinds of volunteering work that you can do for the city.
Very true.
Very true. That's all I have. I shortened this up.
My apologies. You mentioned a binder, and Matthew and I, we actually do volunteer in the police department right now as auxiliary officers. So it is good if y'all want to get in, help the community. But in addition to that, I noticed that you said something about with a lot of people that are interested in being a board member or council, you mentioned financials.
Mm-hmm.
So, being I'm in finance for 10, 15, what financials are you asking when you're doing the binder? Is it city or are you asking personal?
Personal.
Okay.
So when you run for council, it's an elected position. And whether you run at the local level or the county level or the state level, your financials become public record. So when you run for an election, there's a financial disclosure that and it used to get really personal. And it would say, where does your money come from? Where do you have stock? Where do you have investments? What does your wife make? Where does she work? You know, do the kids get any child support? I mean, it was very, very invasive. They have tailored that back somewhat. So that is an annual report. So all of the council, if you have a seat this year, and any year, at the end of the year, the financial disclosure is required by January 31st, and it's all their personal monies. During an election cycle, when I say campaign finance money, it's money you're collecting from individuals that are giving you money for campaign signs, any videos that you might want to produce, and you just report where you got the money from, because there's statute that requires the limitation on how much money you can get from one individual or from a family, what constitutes a family, and it changes from the state level to a county level to state. So the city, we have the most restrictive monies that you can collect running for office. So as a board and commission member, you are not under those financial disclosures. So it's different. If you are a board or commission member, there is no campaign finance, there's no financial disclosure. That's all elected official stuff. Board and commissions, I would love to do. I've got board and commission handbooks I'm just trying to assemble that would assist our board and commission members on being a board and commission member. How does a meeting run? What's the responsibility of the chair, the vice chair? You know, things like that. Motions, you know, do you need a supermajority? For certain things, council needs a supermajority vote, not just a So sometimes they need at least six in favor of in order for something to pass. Whereas if it's 4-3, most motions will pass. 4 in favor, 3 against. So it would be nice to have a handbook for the board and commission members on how your board and commission works. It's one of my goals.
So basically your finances is public record. That includes your
If you're an
taxes.
elected official. Now, The one thing that I do not do, because I am not required to, is I don't post that financial disclosure online, the annual financial disclosure. To me, that's very personal. If somebody wants it, they better come in and fill out a request for it. The campaign finance reports, those are required to be posted, so I post them. So I have a little leeway on what I can post and what I don't have to. So if I don't have to post someone's financials, I don't post them, but they are public record. But I will say they have become less invasive than they were before.
Well, I mean, our
Thank
socials
goodness.
are on there, right? So
Oh, that all gets redacted. So,
Okay.
yeah, anything that's, if there's a social security, a date of birth, then there's certain information that is redacted.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
You bet. Anything else?
More?
I'm not the last one. Where's
No,
Fire?
we have, Diana's gonna come in, we're gonna have her do that, and then
A little-
Matthew's gonna do our final one. Are we good there, Joe, Jennifer?
We're done.
Jennifer Pena?
Thank you, guys. Al, I don't know how to get you back to where you want to be. There you go.
Okay, before we take our break, I had a request from the Friends of Apache Junction. Does everybody remember what the Friends of Apache Junction are? We're all friends of the city. So if you remember back to the second class, Fox Young, who works in development services but is part of what we refer to as the Revenue Generation Development Department for the city, he oversees two groups. One is the CDC, the Community Development Corporation, which is involved in trying to find community projects to sort of elevate the city. And then there is essentially the fundraising arm for the city. That is called Friends of Apache Junction, and Diana LeClaire here is going to tell you a little bit about that in a little more detail very quickly, because I think anybody who's sitting in this room does want to be a friend of Apache Junction. So, Diana LeClaire.
Well, like Al said, back in February, sorry, Al. Like Al said, back in February, Fox went over Friends of Apache Junction. We're there to help advocate for the citizens of Apache Junction to make our community better by providing services to city departments, groups, individuals, nonprofits. But I'm here this evening for a little different purpose, because the Friends of Apache Junction Board is looking for a few good men and women to become board members. The sole responsibility, or the main role of the board, is to safeguard and manage resources, that being donations, funds that are raised, and being accountable to the community. And as a board member, you participate in planning to keep the organization viable. You participate in decisions to allocate the resources, and you participate in generating these funds, because that is a sole function of the board. We meet every fourth Monday of each month at 4:30, and we've been Zooming because of COVID. We'll probably Zoom through the summer, and who knows how long we will Zoom. So that's a little bit of what we're looking for, and you're probably asking yourself right now, why would I want to volunteer to be a board member for Friends of Apache Junction? Well, I have some answers for you. First, you're going to do good. You know, we're bombarded every day with negativity. The news is bleak. You know, you can make your community and your world a better place. When people gather together for a good cause, even the smallest gesture makes a big positive outcome. Another reason, that is you're needed. You know, when you become a board member, you become a valuable asset to the organization. And you're helping your community, you're helping the individuals, and your furry friends, because Paws and Claws is a big part of Friends of Apache Junction. You increase your happiness factor. Research has shown that you decrease your stress level, and you increase your physical and mental well-being. And who wouldn't want that? Plus, once again, you're helping your community and your fellow man, and what's not to feel good about that? And then there's social responsibility. Now, you all have a sense of social responsibility or you wouldn't be sitting in this class. Because obviously you want to learn more about your community and take a bigger role in your community. Well, you can do that with Friends of Apache Junction, and I also saw her, asking for volunteers for other boards, and that's all good too. But by investing your efforts in providing service to your community and those less fortunate, and in a selfless manner, what else can you ask for? But just in case that's not enough, you increase your self-esteem. You increase your self-confidence. Look at me. I'm standing up here by my lonesome in front of a bunch of people I don't really know, but you all seem very nice. Also, you meet new people, make friends, you increase your personal and professional growth because you can network, and you might find hidden talents that you weren't aware of and a new passion. Case in point, Fox, we have a great website, we have a blog. Fox asked the board members if we would write blogs, because apparently if you have a lot of blogs, people will come to your website, they'll get your name out there and be more likely to donate. I never wrote a blog. I can't write a blog. Well, maybe I could write a blog. Maybe I should research writing a blog, read some other blogs. I just finished my 4th blog. Now, when you read them, you might not think I actually have a hidden talent, but who knows, I could be the Hemingway of the next blogging company. But to make a long story short, we're looking for enthusiastic. Well, I'm going to get to that. Thank you for asking that question, but I'm going to get to that. We're looking for enthusiastic, motivated people with fresh ideas that want to make a difference and join a fun group. So, if you want to apply, go to our website, Friends of Apache Junction, click on Board of Directors, and under that you can apply. Or, Al, can they ask you for, Fox said, or you can call Fox Young directly. But the Friends of Apache Junction, we help individuals, groups, city departments, your AJPD, your Paws and Claws, your Parks and Recs, your library, your nonprofits, the Genesis Project. Yes?
I'm trying to find the board of directors. I'm not seeing it on the webpage.
You have to scroll down maybe to find the,
Yeah, it should be, or do you
The
see
leadership.
little, what do they call that thing with the 3 lines?
the little menu.
Thank you, Al.
What I will do is tonight, there you go. I will send to everyone the link to the website and the contact information if you would like to apply.
Well, we're at 5 right now, and we're looking for several more members, but, we're flexible, if we get a big response, and then one of our members just became like a lifetime member because you can serve for a certain period of time, and she's like an honorary member because she was basically in the founding group. But apply. If you're interested, apply.
So there's no set number of how many board members?
Well, the president, Roxanne Coleman, is looking at a number of 7 people, but that's not carved in stone, I don't believe. So if you're interested.
You say that board members are also responsible for finding funding. What does that mean?
Well, we have an annual fundraiser. In the past, it's always been a golf tournament, and we haven't had one this past year, of course, because of COVID. We will be having one next year, and then we're looking at other funding options, because a golf tournament's great, but it just reaches golfers, who are a great group of people, but we want to try things like maybe a car show. That's why we need ideas, something that will get our name out there and get more people interested in Friends of Apache Junction. No more questions? Okay.
Questions?
Okay, think about
I'm
it.
glad you all found that stuff right away, but I will send it to everybody. Diana LeClaire, thank you. Now, she's also a graduate of CLI 2018, does that sound right? All right. 2020, that's right, you're in the last class. I wasn't even thinking. You know what? We will see you on May 18th. We're all going to get together on May 18th. Okay, give us 2 minutes so we can get set up for the next. So this is your chance if you need to run to the bathroom or anything along those lines, and we'll be back in 2 minutes.
Al, what time on May 18th?
What's that?
What time
I think
on
that'll be
May
good, right?
So council meeting, 7 o'clock.
7?
Right
Okay.
here? Yeah. Could
And I'll send this all to you guys.
nonprofit, unless I get
So,
I want to see.
two of my owners sitting in the crib.
I know, I think there's maybe one person.
And there's 2 others, but they're gonna watch after the fact, because they're both out of state.
Okay.
So I did find out about that, so there's people. And it was 2-0 Diamondbacks until Vienna's team decided to come back.
They're really good, but I think
You're in trouble, Zane. You're in trouble. You.
Got it. Oh.
Yeah. Right, because it's depending on what can go in the area.
We should have brought our answers, at least to put up here.
I can't afford it.
I'm sure she's far for it. Covering high schoolers. Or covering for Richard Dyer, Mesa Independent reporter.
What's up with that guy? I was trying to read that article the other day. I'm like,
No, you know what?
I think I'm tired. That's what it is.
He's a stenographer. It's all regurgitation. There's no context, there's no perspective, there's no analysis, nothing. If you want to
I think you're right.
This is awful. Okay, fine. It's awful.
I'm going to have to edit this out.
For the, is this the city fair? Yeah, but it's in a lock.
Oh, crap.
You know,
Well, it helps support them in a positive manner.
Heather and Joe here down in Public Works. She's like, Miss, if we see the graffiti, we cover, she gets her, she's got the crypto. Jumps right on it, yeah. She just places it. Because that'd be cool. Heather, I'd also.
Okay, I was like, one day I don't bring a pen and paper. I love you, by the way, and I don't know you because you post all this for me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, so you got fans everywhere you go.
I try.
The one person now we put like that way, like, watch this one. Lunchtime watching the video, it came out finally. And I watched the CLI, so I don't see myself in the library anymore.
Take 10% of the
I had a sad question.
No, that's
Those are the only
good.
2 I will watch because I'm in it.
Come on. Oh, Kraus band. So,
Well, I'm sure that was a good positive way to use construction.
you never know.
I reached out to the high school art department and just looked a little bit and well, there was one, no, there was one. I don't know. Then I'll hire them. It's okay. You don't wanna do this, but you wanna do it. Here's my wall. It has to be.
I don't ever probably really get that.
Yeah, it's still gotta be some stamp. So over there, that's
But like Jeff said,
The one I saw where the old fries is.
4 or 5 wash days in the morning, and he's just.
Right.
Well, that's kind of like that, it was only from last night.
Right, yeah. So one over from Southern, and I have a whole brick wall and an art alley in Rapid City. They pay like a $50 permit, and they have an alleyway that you walk down, and they get a certain section, and they can put their stuff in, they pay the city. And it's on budget, I mean, you Google it, it's all over, it's crazy.
Are you gonna repeat the questions, or do I need to get the microphone?
I'll repeat the questions.
That's
There
been-
won't, hopefully there'll be
that was
none.
That was our biggest
We'll figure that out.
Well, I'm gonna, it just.
Should get an
I can't
intern.
get to the other side quick enough, but.
All right, I guess everybody's coming back.
Okay, everybody ready?
What? Thank you. Are you guys ready? Because I'm the fun part of the city. Woo! I'm not a director. I have no employees. I do not try to enforce, well.
Well, wait a minute. But he also knows more about the city than anybody I know in the whole place.
He knows where all the dead bodies are buried.
Just a couple. Just a couple.
How many of the bodies did you put there?
None. How dare you?
I will tell you, I could try to introduce the guy, but it would take half hour,
I
so I'm
know, I
not
don't
going
want
to.
'cause you-
So here he
I was gonna
is.
tell Al, if it's like quarter till, just
We're done. Yeah, we're done.
I'll phone it in.
Matthew McNulty, ladies and gentlemen.
Everyone. So what's interesting is like, everyone I think on this side of the room is already on a border commission. Am I right? Huh? What? That's awesome. You guys are excused. I got nothing. So, yeah, my name's Matthew. I moved to AJ in 1986, did my senior year at the mighty AJ High School. So I'm not really a prospector, but I am, because I grew up on the west side in Glendale. I went to CAC, associate's degree. Moved on to the only real university in the state, Arizona State University. There's an important number. It's 70 to 7. Do you remember what that number is? So really quick, I got hired as a electronic graphics producer, and so I get the job. Had a little HTML experience, had a lot of video experience. This is my first job out of college. I went to the journalism school at Arizona State, the Cronkite School. And instead of going into journalism, which was okay, but it was a little dry, my first job within 30 days it was a company called Audiovisual America. I was like, what do they do? And a girl I knew had said, come look, they're hiring. Well, they did rock and roll, country music, and corporate events. And I'm 21 years old. So much fun, so much fun. That lasted about 10 years, and then the missus got tired of me being on the road for 6 months out of the year and babies and all that stuff. So find out about this job, apply for it, just like, I don't know, because I'm a technician, I'm behind the scenes, I'm a technical person. But sure enough, got the job, great. First thing they show me is they have a cable channel, and TV has a cable channel because of cable TV. Cable TV said, we want to come into your community, and the law said you have to give a certain amount of channels, at that time it was 3, to the community to use as they would. So the cable company at the time, Triax, some of you might remember Triax, they're in the building across the street from the hitching post, and they used to store their vans in, which is now the pizza place hitching post. Their vans used to be stored in there. And they used to put a sign on their door there at Triax that said, we'll be back at noon or at 1. And it'd be up for 3 weeks. So, so we had a box that it is a bulletin board, and it was the only device that I'm aware of to this day that when the millennial, the countdown, 99, 2000, it actually broke. It literally broke. So they said, can you fix it? I said, yeah, I think so. Well, where is this? And it was over in the old council chamber right over here. Behind the bathrooms, there is a cable feed. And they said, well, we know this cable feed is the send to them. So they said, whatever, we don't know where it goes. So, well, where's the box? They said, oh, that's in the Parks and Rec building. So this little office, went in there, and sure enough, there is this little, anyway. So long story short, in 22, actually, this week will be 22 years, woo, with the city. We've built a cable channel that started out as roughly just a cable channel. 6,000 subscribers in the city, give or take, with our winter residents, maybe 7,000. But that changed when satellite dishes came along. It kind of went down to about 5,000 to 4,000. But we were good partners with Triax. So when Mediacom came in and bought them, they literally took the whole contract, asked for I think it was an 8-year extension, and they got it. And with that came a nice sum of money, a grant of about $200,000. So instead of trying to build it over at the old buildings, because that's where I was for the first, 8, 9 years, there's no way I'm going to put what's in this room in a double wide. I'm just not going to do it. I would have had to tore it out, or it would have been torn down, and that's tens of thousands of dollars. Back then, it was more like $60,000 to $70,000 to do that. So held on to that pile of money, bought a few camera things, a VHS playout system, which was like 8 decks that were roughly computer controlled to play shows that we were doing and we were producing. I was producing. Then one day they came in and said, hey, we're going to go build a new building. What do you think we need over there when it comes to this room and your television stuff? So took that money, helped build this room to put in all the cool stuff. Those were recently added. That's new. We used to have a projection system in here, so that was part of the work I do here. The other part was, of course, the website. So let's go quickly look at our website. This is probably we have a third party doing this now. The first website we ever had, there it is. The Wayback, you know about the Wayback Machine? You can't see it, but there's a little galloping horse, because we're a horse community, and it used to play a 8-bit version, like your Mario Kart music, of Ghost Riders in the Sky. I'm not kidding, that was funny. And so they said, I had very little experience with HTML at that point, but enough to cause a problem. So, we built over the years straight up HTML, not a lot of input, not a lot of ways to get stuff to us. And about that time, the internet hits, and it's like crazy, and laws are passed and requirements. We got to have documents up there. It's like, I'm one person. And like most of the folks you've met in this class, the directors and such, they're professional, municipal, city government, legislative types. I wasn't. I was doing country music, rock and roll, corporate. I was like, I need some help. So sooner or later, got the bright idea to say, hey, let's just go ahead and partner up with a company. Went out for quotes a very long time ago, and it's this Civic Plus. So only thing we needed to do really is to manage that project and then get folks that are not familiar with websites, and the content management system in the back. Wasn't a big, terrible struggle, but again, if you're like over at PD, Craig Robinson, great guy, but his job is to manage 911 and those folks. That's tough. And to put that hat on him, I was like, that's not right to me. So my big push over these coming years, and as we're starting to grow more, is to have a dedicated person that is to each department, and maybe even down to the division, I don't know, that just does this. Because that's how much content is coming through here now. Maybe they can manage some of the social media. That would be awesome. Because I'm doing too much social media managing. I don't like it. So marketing Apache Junction, not easy. The mountain, yes. If you look at anything you saw from Janine, who else? We helped with the general plan. All the stuff that, like I said, Janine did with AOT, the Arizona Office of Tourism. The only way we're able to do any of that is because they basically foot 50% of everything we did. So that was great. That's only been in the last 8 years. Everything before that was very hit or miss. A lot of partnerships with regional. There is the Apache Trail Group, OK Corral, Hitching Post. Used to be the mining camp, but they're gone now. But everything around that trail comes up over. They have a group, so we worked with them on a few things. Chamber of Commerce, of course. Tried to partner with them on more than just a couple of things. But it's a struggle. It is a struggle. We don't have the kind of money that we see Tempe, Mesa, Chandler, go out and get a third party to do it for them. It's very difficult. So that is a big task. It has grown. It has taken almost 22 years to get to where we have a way for you as residents and advocates for us to say, hey, let's go on out, the city of AJ, and let me show you what's going on our YouTube channel. A lot of meetings, a lot of cool stuff. Parks and Rec's been jumping on there since the COVID. This is all COVID related. Of course, you see our State of the City out there. Great way for people to learn a lot about us. Everyone's familiar with Manager Minute, or the as this version of it is called the Great Day in AJ.
Welcome to A Great Day in AJ. I'm Bryant Powell, City Manager, City of Apache Junction. Last Wednesday, 4 square miles of land that's just south of Elliott Road near Ironwood Road sold.
So if you're asking, why should government do TV? This is why. Because Channel 12 doesn't come out and talk to Brian about it, talk about how important it is, the reality of it. I mean, right? They don't. I mean, Mr. Bravo here, in his just the first 2 years, has brought more media people out here than the previous Mr. Brenner and Constance. I got to throw that in there, man. And so you see them coming out and wanting to return, especially for the cool stuff when Paws and Claws is doing hey, let's clear the shelter, or the 12 Paws of Christmas, that kind of thing. So that's great. Got to get those out there. But some of these stories that we're telling, they're not going to do. They're not going to come out and cover this class. So they're not going to come out and cover that this is the initial class for live streaming to YouTube, which is something I'm planning on hoping to say, hey, instead of us paying a third party to stream it, we can do it for, I can expend $200 and I mean, it does it automatically now, but I can spend $200 and we'll do Facebook Live, we'll do YouTube Live, and then it all comes back to the channel, to the live stream, what's playing on the live stream? Let's check. Oh, what? What?
Our code officers interpret the codes to figure out whether there's a violation or not, and because sometimes there's a matter of interpretation. That's where our Board of Adjustment comes in,
Yeah.
but that's also where zoning administration comes in.
Right.
So there's a lot of different.
So that's fun.
aspects
So they ask,
of
hey, you got.
what we do in the planning department.
I never
on
did
top
live
of
streaming. Live
answering-
streaming was crazy. Can you do that? I said, yeah, let's do it. It's not hard. Quick thing about the money is, let me tell you something. And what is today? So I bought a camera, bought a Panasonic 3-chip camera, $7,000 lens, $10,000 body plus tax, and a case. So $23,000 for an HD camera. I just expended last year for a 4K camera, half of its size, $3,000. So at some point, all of this, all these roadblocks to us, or the barrier to entries, just are gone. I mean, your phone camera right now is a good camera, especially that HD stuff. It's just when you email it or send it over the air that Apple or Google compresses it for you, and it looks kind of crappy. But just remember, just plug it in and download it to your computer. It'll be fine. Let's go to, so when we market, I want everybody to know about our Flickr account. Flickr. Flickr is basically a photo sharing platform that we pay, I think, $60 a year. And once I got my hands on a still camera, which is not my background. I am not a photographer. I'm getting there. I feel pretty good about it. I like it. So it's like, we got to cover these events because people are always asking me did you get pictures? Did you go out there? And I'm like, yeah, we're going to do that. So I always encourage the class to say, hey, people start talking about AJ in the wrong way. Please know that the wrong way is the wrong way. We're no different than any other place. I mean, I've lived here for a long time. I've seen worse places than this for sure. And if it was so bad, why are we all living here? Because it's not. I like being 5 minutes away from desert and the silence and occasional airplane flying over. That's okay. I like being close to that kind of stuff. So let's start sharing some of these. You are totally legal to go here and say, hey, that's me. I want to download that picture. Guess what? It's in the public domain. You can download it and do whatever you want with it. Well, let's have some taste, some decorum. And if you see me at an event, come up to me and ask me for a picture. I will take that picture. I'll put it up here. It's high resolution, and it's yours to keep and download and share with your friends. Because there is more of this going on in our city, yearly, monthly. Well, COVID's the outlier event. Than anything. And it's good to get these out there. So it's been about 3 years, so I like to get out there and kind of refresh them. That's why you're going to see someone's like, hey, yeah, 2018, okay, that was pretty cool. But, how many people know about Blues and Brews? What's that? Well, let me send you over to the Flickr account, and you can see what a cool thing that is. I mean, seriously, look at that. Look at that backdrop. I can't even design that. That's awesome. That's our stage, Parks and Rec stage, right? So we got all these things that we can take and market and show people that we may not be a biggest channel, so everything's scaled proportionately, right? Everything's scaled for us. But except we do events right. I think that's a cool thing. Please be sure to, does everybody have Facebook on their phone? Delete it right now. Delete it. Because that way I don't have to spend so much time on it trying to figure out what you all are talking about. Because our council members are like, hey. I'm like, listen. Oh, and if you have a question or somebody comes to you with a question, because I know you got board members over here, tell them to ask us. We do respond to our messages. The police department gets way more messages than we do, but when someone's got a question about zoning, send it to us. We'll get that answer for you, or your friend or your neighbor. Listen, the groups are insane, and we're in all the groups. They're just not right. 99% of the time, they're not right. They're just not. There's more to the story. Let's put it that way. Okay? So have fun, but man, come on down. Let's see what's going on. Instagram, let's get out there and be young. And yeah, I didn't realize. You know what the trick is with this is I got to do 3 posts on this so it doesn't break my cool mosaics there. Right? Oh, there's Tom Comborn. What a great guy. He's so missed. Yeah, so let's get out there, try to get some influencers. We've looked at influencers and spending money there, but value-wise, I don't think we could sell it to council.
No, I'm saying this is a great feed.
It is, right? Right, look at this. This one I messed up, so don't get mad. This was kind of, this was like the original CLI stuff right here. There's Sharon, she's great. There's Todd House. I don't like that guy. Look at this. This is such a great thing. Yeah. Yeah, that was, I think, the first year. Oh, yeah, I fly the drone too. So we have a drone. It's fun. You know, it's okay. It's okay. I got, you know, right? Oh, there. Oh, I'm gonna take that one down. Anyway, so we're on there. We're doing it. Yeah, we. So one of the, it started at the winter walkathon when it used to be out in front of the old Fry's, and they brought a balloon out, and it was great. It was great, but we don't have the space for more than 2. I think what it was, because you need space. Those things are humongous. So I think that was something. If you watch the State of the City from about 3 years ago, council members were kind of, hey, what would I love to see here? And one of them was a balloon fair of some sort. The other one that I heard the other night at one of the meetings, I don't know which meeting it was a burro race. Yeah, Mayor Wilson, he was the one who said he was up in Colorado, saw a burro race, and it was basically, you drag your burro down the street, and it was very cool. It was very cool. I was like, I can totally see that happening here.
Can't be any worse than an ostrich festival.
I'm not into birds, so Another tip for you folks at home, the video on demand. Our new website. I'm still doing ajcity.net. Oh, we've gone over. Is there any questions? Any questions about marketing? Let's take the pledge that I will promise to clear up all the stigma that Apache Junction does not deserve. It just doesn't. Thank you. Okay. Y'all pass. ApacheJunction.gov/web video. Anytime I do a meeting, not this one because we're on the YouTube platform for this one, it goes here within the hour of the end of the meeting. And I do show it on the cable channel, which is the stream that you just saw. That's actually the feed of the cable channel. Because people do sometimes ask me, how long does it take to get there? So if it's a 4-hour meeting, it's probably going to take 2 hours to upload. But these shorter meetings, like Health and Human Services from the other day, it was up there within 5-10 minutes. So bookmark that. You'll see it there first. You don't have to go to the other one, which is like the, I don't even want to try to get there at this point, but where else? Blues and Grooves. That's it, really, for me. I mean, I do have my hand in all of this. The logo for the Legends logo, we call it, designed with help of my peers here at the city. The bags, you've seen our tote bags. Those are my designs as well. A lot of fun with those. I think we're going to do a new one after July. We reordered some of the my cool ones with our favorite guy. Where is he? I know he's in here. Where is he? I forgot his name. Teton. Yeah. My freelancer, Ari, she took that picture. I said, that's going to be great to put on a bag. I don't know where he's at. He's in there somewhere.
He just did the logo, too, for the Public Arts Commission.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty fun. Actually, you can kind of see that. Let's go back to, hey, settle down. Right there. Oh, wow. Yeah, really the thought was the Art Commission is a brand new Art Commission. It's a little different because they're going to have a budget to spend. So I had asked Sydney and Larry, said, hey, we should do some color. Let's put some color in this. Give it a little life.
Did he cover public art when he did that? I don't even remember.
Larry?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I don't remember that.
So
going forward now,
yeah.
It's a 0.5%. Is that what it is? 0.5% of every major capital budget of, so let's say a private company is going to come in and do a new building in the city. Yes, or a new development. 0.5% of that budget is set aside for public art.
That, or they can propose their own public.
Right,
Like if Lennar for some reason wanted to build whatever, they could do that as well, but.
Or it can go into a pool, you're right.
Yeah, it goes into a pool and then they can suggest.
Being built, even the new dog park that's being built.
Yeah.
A part of that is coming to us to spend for public art.
Right.
In fact, that's one of our first projects is probably going to be doing the public art for the dog park.
Yeah, so again,
Dog
remember,
sculpture.
this is kind of you've probably already known this, but boards and commissions, they do all the heavy lifting to bring to council. So the art commission will bring that, make recommendation, council can debate it, not debate it, take that and say, yeah, sell it, let's go. A lot of people don't realize that. The dog park's going to go before council, but got to say that can't change it too much because the scope is already out there. And so those meetings were empty. All the public feedback they're trying to get, it starts at that board and commission level. So.
Parks Board in this case.
Parks Board, yeah. So, any questions? Let's get out of here, man. It's late. I'm grumpy.
I know. Everybody has, Terrell?
Jeff back there.
Jeff? Oh, hold on.
Yeah, I noticed you were mentioning you have a cable TV station. Do you guys sell any airtime blocks at all or anything like that? And does it have to be a nonprofit or could someone for profit do anything like that?
No, we can't sell airtime. Back in the day with PEG access, public educational government, you would have a studio for your show. The nudist colony in Peoria used to be really big on that. They used to challenge public things. It was insane. It was insane. That's when I started because there's laws, but no. So your best bet is YouTube. Why even, you're gonna, do a little marketing. I mean, I don't even know. They don't share their numbers with us. Anecdotally, it was probably about 4,500 cable TV subscribers. That's gone way down. Before we go, how many people are hoping Cox? Who wants Cox? One person. Cox? Mediacom? No,
separate.
Cox is looking at coming, because we have statewide franchising now, whereas Cox can come in and they can only do half of the town, they can do one business, they can do businesses, they could do one subdivision, or they could just go down south. So unless they know that there could be something here, because the one thing they have to do, go ahead.
What about Starlink?
Starlink?
Have you heard of it?
Oh yeah, Tesla. Yeah. That's completely up. I can't afford to get bandwidth on their system. We looked into not Dish, the other one. I forget the other one. Yeah.
DirecTV.
And because I had found out a group in Texas, a booster club for one of the high schools was able to raise the money to get their favorite football team and high school sports on that little footprint. Because remember, those satellites, it's a separate footprint here, it's a separate footprint there. So they were whatever hundreds of thousands of dollars, I forget what it was. So as soon as, we don't have $100,000 to try to get on the satellite networks. It's like, no way. And Starlink, yeah, no. But I'm sure that's in town.
I have Cox and Gilbert Mesa, and I constantly had problems with Cox and Gilbert Mesa. What we have now, I maybe have a dropout, if I'm lucky, once a year.
And that's
but
what,
Cox and Mesa and Gilbert all the time.
Okay.
Mediacom, so you have Mediacom now?
Yeah.
So this is the first I've heard of the Cox thing. Are they putting in new infrastructure, or are they using what's already there? Because it's infrastructure problems.
Okay, so they are going to do most likely their own infrastructure, if it's business. I mean, when they talked to us, they wanted to know if we had conduit that they could use, and part of the deal would be they would bring the conduit down here, and then they would feed our building, and we'd get new internet. But no, that's always been the barrier, is the overbuild. You can't or buy Mediacom. But Mediacom makes good money, so they're like the 10th or 9th largest for small markets. And they never crossed the border. They went into northern Pinal, and then Cox went into northern Pinal. So it really would be nice to see them do the whole town and compete and make MediaCom get better or cheaper or both, right? That's the whole idea of markets. So my theory is that they're going to do businesses first and then look at residential from that conduit. So yeah, kind of a...
My other problem with Cox is that they purposely make your router after a couple of years go bad, so you have to buy a new one. MediaCom, and they admitted to that. MediaCom, I've had the same router for 4 years, no problem. But Cox, like every 2 or 3 years, you were having to buy a brand new router, and they know they're guilty for that. So
There you go. Remember that when we're talking to them.
Anyway, any more questions? My extension's 5144-474-5144. Love to talk marketing and fun, and let's get back to events. I really missed the rodeo and cows stepping on dudes. That's awesome. Let me find that picture. I got some pictures like, how did that guy get up? That piece of steak just nailed him. I was like, wow. Yeah, it's time. The race, let's get that marathon going. 7,000 people alone down at Prospector Park for that race. And I don't know what, 600 I think they do up at Peralta Trailhead there. The Don's Camp.
The most picturesque
right?
marathon you could ever imagine.
Yeah, and I meet people all the time. In fact, I met people this weekend. They're volunteers. And they'll tell you right where their water station is, right? And there's like 400 volunteers for that. And they love it. The folks in the parks love it. So I can see where this town's a little boring now. There's nothing going on. Nothing going on.
yeah, we work in the police sector for that, and I'll tell you right now, it's a huge
It's awesome.
game plan ahead of it.
Yeah, yeah. So.
And Parks does a great job with it. It's
Yeah, let's
it's one of
remember,
those.
all those nonprofits, they donate right back to Little League, to the city, the Parks and Rec Fund there.
Boys and Girls Club, on and
That
on.
had to be hard this year. It just had to be, yeah. Any more questions? Remember, let's get rid of the stigma. No more stigma.
No more stigma.
No more stigma.
Is there a better?
That's kind of like my goal is to, I've always asked, can we go out and get data on what the surveys across the line and what people are thinking, what the realtors, are they saying things that they shouldn't be saying, so we can start to correct that through marketing, whether it's us, this is your marketing team right here. Huh? Yeah, How do you scare a vampire in Apache Junction? Show him a toothbrush. That's a good one. I heard that one at Captain's a few years back, by the way. So yeah, I have fun. I do. I try to, because there are very serious things going on in the city, with a police department. Very serious business. Yeah. We're going to help them with a recruitment video because they need officers, like in a big way. So Mr. Harshman reached out. He's got to follow up, though. I can't go over there, man.
We actually are hiring several people in several places, and you will hear more about that as the budget process goes through. I will remind you that on Monday is the next work session. It'll be the first place where the 21-22 budget is introduced. So that would be a bad one to tune into. And then farther along the line, there is public hearings on the budget. We are going to add a number of positions. Development services, as Matthew was mentioning, development services is going to add several people just because of the development going on down south. So there's things like that. Police is going to hire, but we're still a growing city no matter how you look at it. And we do need more folks, just like the clerk's office was talking about, and the other areas too. So I would tune in on Monday, regular council meeting on Tuesday, as you all know. And then, like I said, please plan for May 18th to come back for council on that night at 7 o'clock. And Matthew will take a nice picture of all of us.
Yes.
There is no donuts for that, not unless someone is really nice.
The first couple, for the Leadership Institute we had over at the old Parks building there, used to be food.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
What kind of food?
Oh, yeah. Let's say Fry's wasn't here yet, so let's say the Safeway Deli.
Oh, okay.
Which was good. I mean, not a big deal.
Okay, okay, Penn. Okay,
But
Penn.
then
Here, Charlie.
2008, and
I gotcha.
everything was gone.
All right, everybody good? We've kept you here all through this whole 4 months, and you made it through. You will get a nice certificate and a shirt, and we will acknowledge you profusely on that night. But on behalf of Matthew and I, and for the city, of course, thank you for taking part. Thank you for coming. Thank you for showing that interest in your city. And I know we're going to all work together because you're going to come back and be part of boards and commissions, or going to be part of volunteering, or who knows, like I said, we may all work for you someday. So on behalf of everybody, thank you very much. And as always, please drive home safely. Good night.